Hello, everyone. This is Zach Dog. Now, you might already know that I'm a pretty big fan of Balatro, but what you might not know is I'm also a playing card collector. I have like hundreds of decks of playing cards. So when I heard they were coming out with a Balatro playing card deck, I can guarantee you the first thing I did was instantly buy it. And it's finally arrived. So I'd like to give a sort of review here. It's hiding under this, but I wanted to briefly mention, we'll come back to this, what I'm comparing it on. What am I grading it on? First would be basically how well the cards feel. This is one of the most important things, but not the most important thing. For example, these King's Wild cards, these feel amazing, and we'll come back to them later. The second thing is, of course, probably the least important, but box art. A really good deck of cards often has a really intricate box art. I've got a couple examples there. We have these from Stockholm 17, I believe, the Eye of the Ocean. So I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but you'll see, I mean, these are really intricate box arts. They even go through to the playing cards. Very cool. I don't expect the Balatro ones to do very well there, but it's possible. And finally, of course, playing card quality. I couldn't pick just one, so I've got both a Lautrec deck, that's this one, and a Brutus Mark Penny deck. Again, we'll revisit these later after we've looked at the Balatro ones and see how they stack up, but I wanted to show them at the beginning. Anyway, let's get into it. So, this is what the cards look like, the Balatro playing cards. So right on the front, it's got okay in terms of box art. It's stylized, it's got the official on here, looks all right, though it does remind me a little bit of basically like a souvenir deck as opposed to a really fancy playing card deck. You'll also notice that other than Balatro here, it's pretty much all just a flat box, but that's fine. The back here does step it up a little bit. This might not come through because of the inverted camera and the glare, but it says a red deck, includes 52 standard cards, 4 jokers, and it's got the little Balatro UI on here that shows it's a standard deck. Red deck makes me think we're going to have the red deck as the backing, but we'll see. It has conveniently included a easy to open plastic tear. A lot of playing cards don't, so I appreciate that I'm going to be able to get this off without much issue. All right. Here we can get a slightly less glare look at the box and the sides. Anyway, let's crack them open. Box opens pretty easily. Okay, as expected, we've got the pretty standard red deck back here. I will say the pixel art actually looks pretty good on here. I was wondering how that would look on a full-size card, and I'd say pretty good. Now let's turn it over and look at the cards. Right off the bat, the edges feel a little bad, but the cards slide really well, which is a plus. And again, the edges of the cards feel a little tacky, but so far the feel is good. So we have standard Joker here, Jimbo, I believe. I believe this is +1 discard Joker. We have to have Blueprint Joker, of course, and Banana. Now into the actual cards. All right. As we can see here, the Ace of Spades, pixelated. Again, I actually do kind of like the way the pixelated look goes on here. Although if you zoom out, it does look a lot more just like a normal Ace of Spades. Getting into the King, now this is pretty much always going to look pixelated. I do love the art that they do for Balatro, so I'd say I'm a big fan. Same with the Queen, the Jack. Getting into a number card, here is the 10 of Spades. As you can see, these slide really well. That was one of the things I was most worried about, and so far I'd say I'm pleasantly surprised by the way these cards feel. They used a good printer here. For the rest of these, I'll just kind of fan them out a little bit so you can take a look. Again, we'll see slight difference here on the hearts, but not a big deal. A lot of the face cards here are pretty similar. And ending with the 2 of diamonds. I'll see how these look when they're fanned. Of course, I'm not very good at fanning a full deck, so maybe I'll just grab a smaller stack of cards and fan those out to the best of my ability. I collect cards, but I don't do any magic tricks, which is probably pretty obvious. I mean, I'd say these look pretty good. I'm overall quite pleased with them. I'm not going to shuffle them at this moment, but I can already tell from experience that these cards are going to shuffle really well. They're very slick, but they snap back into place after being bent a little bit. That helps. And I can unshuffle them here as I re-deal them. Another important metric I'll check here is how well do they go back in the box. It may sound strange, but there are some, and I will say, obviously the highlight of this deck is the Jokers. I mean, these are incredible. Problem is, you don't really use them in your normal playing card deck, so even though they have a full 4 Jokers, you know, I'm not quite sure what you really do with those. Alright, and they snap back in pretty well to this cardboard box. I will say I'm not sure how well this cardboard box would hold up over repeated use. It does seem pretty stiff, but we'll see. Alright, let's get into some ranking and comparison. First, I am pleasantly surprised to say that their feel is really good. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to show up on this camera, but the Balatro cards play actually pretty similar to one of my favorite decks, which is a King's Wild Project deck. As you can see here, these really slide around really nice. They deal well. I will say they have a better side, a less tacky side than the Balatro ones. Balatro ones almost feel kind of like playing cards that have like decorated edges, but they are just normal. In fact, let's keep these out here for our future comparisons. Like, as you can see, these move around, again, very, very similar to these King's Wild cards. The way the whole deck just moves is very similar, and that's a huge plus. Overall, in terms of the way these cards feel, while I do have to take off a few points for the tacky edges, I am pleasantly surprised to say I'd give this at least an 8.5. These feel great. You could play with these no problem. I mean, it's great. Very, very good feel. Now, next up is the box art. Now, I will say I am not necessarily disappointed. After all, the front here is fairly nice, pretty standard, and the back, I really enjoy the back. This is great. This gives it a lot of points. That being said, it does feel a little underwhelming when you compare it to something like Stockholm 17, or I mean even King's Wild Project cards. It's a little bit basic. It's got the cards on the box, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's not as bad as something like this, that's like just a pure souvenir deck with no details whatsoever. But it's okay. Box art overall, I'd give it maybe a 6.5. It's fine, it's passable, it's even got some nice details on here I really enjoy, but it's not blowing me away. And the box quality is, while pretty good, this is the kind of box that wouldn't hold up very long if you were using it repeatedly. That being said, I think the most important question is, how do the cards look? And here we have to get a little complicated because these cards are going for a specific look. While the Jokers are incredible, most of the playing cards, I mean, they're pretty normal. They're pixelated, and when you get up close, they obviously look pixelated. So it's what they're supposed to do. There's not a lot of surprises here. But if I'm comparing it to my whole collection, and if I'm doing that, that means you have to factor in cards like Lotrex cards, which just have incredibly intricate designs, not to mention my personal favorite deck of my entire collection here, these Culturae Animalis from Jack Brutus Penny. These are, I mean, incredible, although they would actually lose a lot of points in the way they feel. But, I mean, look at just the incredible amount of detail on every single one of these cards. If this is a 10, and this is a 10 in terms of playing card look and like the just pure soul, I can't get any better than this. Then I feel like for Balatro's playing cards, I have to give it about a 7. Because again, it has a look they're going for. And they pull that look off perfectly. This is exactly what you'd get if you were playing Balatro. But that is still a pretty basic kind of playing card. They're not mixing up the number cards at all, and their face cards are pretty standard. So I'm rounding up to a 7 here because it has a specific style it's going for, and it accomplishes that. But I don't really think it goes above and beyond. And this isn't knocking it because I wasn't expecting it to. It would have been strange. I would have maybe liked if, because in Balatro they have partners with other games and have some fancy face cards you can put on there like Stardew Valley or Warframe. I would have liked if, maybe not as the default, but as an option, you could have had those face cards on here. I imagine that gets really complicated with licensing. I didn't expect it, and I wasn't expecting it when I bought these cards, but that would have bumped it up. But I'm afraid with the Balatro deck, there was really no way these were ever going to get a 10 in terms of look, simply compared to the rest of my collection. That being said, overall, would I recommend buying these? If you like Balatro, 100%. I mean, these are a quality deck of cards. They have used a good printer, and I really appreciate that because that was my biggest fear, was that they were going to use a crappy printer and they were going to feel horrible and I would have never wanted to actually play with them. But they used a really good printer. There's a lot of soul into them, and if you like Balatro, 100% you should buy them. That being said, if you don't like Balatro, yeah, I would probably pass on these. That really shouldn't be much of a surprise. After all, why would you buy the Balatro playing card deck if you didn't like playing Balatro? But I don't think that these hold up 100% if you just wanted a fancy deck of cards for their price. And I'll put their price on the screen because I don't remember it, but it's reasonably pricey. You have to factor in that these cards are reasonably pricey, all things together. $16 up front, not to mention shipping. That's not cheap. That is very comparable to what I paid for this, which I believe was $15 plus like $8 in shipping, at least at the time. And these are incredible cards, like insane. So for its price, I do think that you should only get this if you really like Balatro. But if you do, I mean, come on, you're not going to pass it up. So overall, averaging out all the scores, I would give the deck as a whole about an 8 to an 8.5, probably depending on my mood. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I know this is a lot different than anything I've made before, but I hope you enjoyed my insight, and if you end up getting these, let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have a particular deck of playing cards you really, really love, because maybe you are a playing card collector, please let me know, because I'm always looking to expand my collection at the detriment of my own wallet.